Blog Talk Radio.
Archangels, ghosts, and Bigfoot. Oh my. It's just another night for Supernatural Girls. Real stories, real answers to life's biggest supernatural mysteries. And now for another exciting interview with paranormal experts from this world and others. Psychic medium Helene Olson and paranormal researcher Patricia Baker. Here are Supernatural Girls.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Supernatural Girls. And the girls are myself, Helene Olson, and my partner in crime, Patricia Baker. Good evening, Patricia.
Good evening, Helene. I'm so happy to be talking with you tonight about this great show that we have coming up. I'm hoping it's going to reach out to a number of people who really need this wonderful service that we're going to be discussing.
It's amazing all that they do, and really they're donating their time in service to humanity, really, and it's just an amazing story, and I love talking to them. But tonight we're going to talk about a little bit of paranormal news, and I just want to comment for one moment that we just had a glorious day here in New England, didn't we, Patricia?
Oh, yippee. It's about time. My goodness, this winter has dragged on and tormented us just beyond belief. I even caught a cold. I haven't had a cold in 7 years, but I think it was just the lack of sunshine. It finally got me. It just got good. But
I know, and today's April 6th. It's April 6th already. We don't even feel like it's hardly spring yet, right?
I know. By this time last year, my garden was starting to grow. My garlic was coming up, but not now. I'm still waiting for some snow to melt.
Yeah, well, I did it today, and I bought a big pot of pansies for the front of the house because
good
my favorite flowers, and I just said, it's time. I'm not waiting anymore.
Enough of winter. We're breaking ground.
We are.
With the pansies. Oh, that's wonderful. So what color did you get?
I got like the light violet with the yellow faces because to me they really come alive. They look as though they're animated in a way. And, flowers by themselves have the most amazing vibration anyway, and so I just love looking at them and sometimes don't tell anyone talking to them.
They are
but
so
it's
healing,
so
though.
Fun.
They really
are.
are.
They are.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
are. So for paranormal news, it's not so much current news, but there's some old mysteries around vanishings that happened way back. There was one in 1930 where an entire town, a village, a settlement in northern Canada disappeared. And this
What do you mean
village,
disappeared?
All the people disappeared. There were 2,000 men, women, and children. They were gone without a trace. And
and the buildings were left empty?
Everything was empty. Everything was empty. And this visitor came. He was a fur trapper named LaBelle. He arrived at the settlement, and he found no people, no snowshoe prints or any kind of footprints in the snow. But he did find a pot of blackened stew still being cooked on the fire, and he found their food supply still stored inside their huts, but the village was totally deserted. Now, is this very strange? Yes, I think so. So, anyways, the other shocking discovery that they made was that these Eskimos who were living in the village, their ancestral graves had been dug up, and all the remains were gone. This has never been solved. This mystery of this vanishing has never been solved. They could never find out what happened to those 2,000 people.
That's an incredible story.
It is, and it's just mind-boggling. And then there's individual accounts of certain people who've disappeared throughout history, never to be found again. And today, from what I was reading, missing persons, there are an enormous amount of missing persons reported every day. Now, one of the statistics that I pulled up, 2,300 people a day go missing. Those are the reports being filed. Now, I'm sure that when Kelly and Dan come on, they may even have better statistics than this. But that's a huge amount of people.
It is, but, part of it is actually parents who abduct their own children and runaways, I would imagine.
I would imagine there's a percentage of that.
Mm-hmm.
But even so, I mean, how heartbreaking for whomever is looking for these people. I cannot imagine being a mother whose child has gone missing, or even being a child whose parents gone missing. Any loved one who's gone missing, it must be an absolute torment. An absolute torment. And
I can't even fathom it. One of my children went missing when he was about 6. He was missing for a total of about 20 minutes, and I thought I was going to die. I really did. I couldn't find him anywhere. And I was getting ready to call the police and so forth, and he showed up. And he got punished. He had to stay in for a few days because I had warned him to stay right in front of the house and not to go anywhere else. And, of course, he went into a neighbor's house without permission. I told him, anytime you want to go somewhere, you need to ask me. And they had been really good about it. He was almost 7 at the time, I guess. And he was just gone. And it was the scariest, most heartbreaking, most frozen moment of my life, I think.
I bet.
And
I bet, and I can't
thank
imagine.
God it was nothing, obviously, compared to what these people go through.
But,
I
know. They
just
have to
the
live
feeling
day
of that.
After day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, can you imagine day after day not knowing where that loved one is? I just can't
don't even know how
anything like that. That's
no.
just total hell. But we have Callie Snyder, the founder of Find Me, coming up in a minute, as well as Dan Baldwin, who is a team member, and he's also the author of Find Me.
Well, I know that Dan's book can be found on Amazon.com. The name of it is Find Me, and he probably has his own website and so forth that you can also purchase it on. So let's introduce Kelly right now, okay? Kelly Snyder, this is Helene. You're live on the air.
Hi, how are you doing?
We're doing well, thank you, Kelly, and we really appreciate you taking the time to come on tonight. Your organization is so fabulous. You just are an amazing group, and we're thrilled to talk to you again. Let me introduce, excuse me?
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. I'd like to announce the call-in number. It's 646-478-0828. That's 646-478-0828 for anyone who would like to call in and ask you and Dan a question. And right now I'll introduce Dan.
Hey, good evening.
How are you tonight, Dan?
Doing pretty good. How are you folks?
Oh, we're fine, and we're so thrilled, as I'm sure you heard, that you guys decided to come back on.
Oh, we're delighted to be back.
Mhm. Yeah, it's great. Patricia, are you there?
I am now.
Okay.
A little bit of a coughing fit, excuse me, but
yeah, that's
you're
okay.
in good company.
I caught this miserable cold, guys, and I'm alive and I'm here, but I may have to disappear just to cough my brains out every once in a while. But I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, could you please
the last time we
I know you have new cases you're working on, so please do tell.
Well, we average about 3 to 4 cases a month, and the reason we only do that many is because we let every member work on the cases. So most people have jobs during the week, and they would need to, work on the weekends, for example, to use their abilities to try to help us in locating the missing person or trying to find a suspect in the case it's a homicide. So right now we're working on a case, or just recently ended a case that was in Australia, sent the information to the authorities, and they are supposed to this coming week start searching some of the areas that we mentioned and gave them GPS coordinates where we thought the body would be located.
Wow. You know what, Kelly, could you give us a little bit of background just for anybody new tuning in about your organization so that we can all understand exactly what you do and how they can reach you?
Yeah, the organization was created essentially in 2002, and Dan, by the way, was one of the very first members to join the group. I met with him and several other people, and we started the organization in 2001, but it was during the Christmas holidays, so we just waited until January of 2002 to get it rolling, and currently we have 125 members and 2 airplanes. We have a sister agency called Arizona Search, Track, and Rescue, and we use them constantly, and they use us constantly, and it's a perfect fit because within that organization they have a dive team, search and rescue professionals, and currently I believe they have somewhere around 25 certified and or in the process of being certified search dogs that can do tracking, scent tracking, and cadaver search. So the organization is growing by leaps and bounds, and of course we're always willing to take on anyone that has any abilities in in search and rescue, and former police officers that have extraordinary abilities in missing person investigations and homicides, and then of course anyone in the forensic field, whether it be a profiler, someone that does facial reconstruction. We have handwriting experts, linguistics experts, so we just keep growing. Literally, week by week, it just seems like someone joins every single week. And so with that said, we've been working on average about 4 cases a month, as I mentioned earlier.
That's amazing. Now, how do you get the cases? How can people reach you, or how do you sift through cases to choose who you work on?
Well, originally it was by word of mouth, and now that has escalated quite a bit because of our success ratio. And we get calls from police departments all across the country and across the world, for that matter. And then, of course, we have a website. It's www.findme2.com.
That's numeral 2.
Say what, Dan?
That's
that
the
would
number
be numeral 2.
Not spelled out TWO, but the number 2. Findme2.com.
Correct. Anyway, like I say, the organization has grown considerably since we started in 2002.
Well, we have
I'm sorry. Last time we spoke with you guys, I know you were having a difficult issue with the police notifying you in a timely manner, because as we all know by watching television and crime shows, every hour that goes by, there's less of a chance that you're going to find the person alive. And have you made any progress with that?
Well, not to a great degree we haven't. I mean, we still get calls from police departments, but it usually is after they've run out of leads. And, of course, in the case of a missing person, like, for example, a child that goes missing, our search dogs can be on scene, if it's local, within 2 to 4 hours. And it is critical that the scent get picked up immediately by the search dogs. So if we were called, we could have our dogs there while they're investigating and do their first responder routine, and we could be out searching for the child while they're still investigating and interviewing witnesses. While they're interviewing witnesses, time is of the essence, and that is the whole motivation for them to contact us. Not to say they can contact us later, but it's just the fresher the case, the easier it is to find the person.
Now, if just an individual citizen had someone they loved that was missing, would they be able to contact you directly?
Absolutely. The 2 ways that we will work on an investigation is if a family member contacts us or a point of contact that is designated by the family and or a police department. Those are the only 2 mechanisms. And we only work with police departments because we can't provide our information to the families unless, of course, there is a sanctioned search and rescue organization that we essentially certify and qualify that they can do what we ask them to do. And then we'll provide information on certain occasions to those kind of people, but essentially our information goes right to the police department. We can't deviate from that, because in a lot of instances we are also providing suspect-related information, and that can only end up in the hands of the police. I
see. Now, are there any cases that you refuse to take, even if it is a family member contacting you?
Yeah, the only ones, well, we don't work robberies or rape cases or runaways, and the reason for the runaways is they're constantly mobile, number one, and number two, the group decided that they didn't want to take the chance of returning a child to a home where the child is being harmed in any way, shape, or form. So if Child Protective Services and or the police contact us on a runaway, and it has something to do with medical, or they just want us to be involved, then of course we will work a runaway case for them. But that's the only instance that we'll look for a runaway.
I see.
So have you had any big success stories that you can share with us where you've been able to recover someone that has been missing and that you'd like to share? Because I know hearing these types of stories gives people hope.
Well, yeah, the most recent where we actually found the individual, he was deceased, unfortunately, but nonetheless we did find him, was a case here locally, a missing ASU student named Jack Gouleas. And the authorities and helicopters and boats and 200 people went looking for him, and then after about 10 days, the stepmother contacted our organization, asked us to look, and the reason she contacted us is she remembered and or was told that just approximately a year before that time we found another ASU student in somewhat similar circumstances, and that information was passed on to her, so she contacted us, and we went out literally about 3 days later with our search dogs, Arizona Search, Track, and Rescue, and we got the scent the immediate time that we went out, and actually had 3 separate dogs that alerted on a specific area. Even though we had information on other areas, we searched all of the areas, didn't find him, but we knew that he was more than likely in the water near the place that he went missing. So the following day we were going to go back with our boat and actually put the dogs in the water in the boat. And we went down to the shoreline again just to see if another dog would alert on the shoreline. And as soon as we were down there, the dog actually pulled the dog was on lead and pulled the handler towards the water. And as the person that was holding the dog back went towards the water, then she saw the person that we were looking for, Jack Gouleas, in the water, deceased.
Oh, wow.
So I guess the good news is we found him. The good news is we brought the family somewhat of closure, but, the reality is, we always want to find people alive. That is our obvious goal, but it doesn't always work out that way. And but nonetheless, he was recovered from the water, and now the family definitely doesn't have to worry about every single day waking up and not knowing where their loved one is.
Right. Oh, my goodness. And now how much do psychics play into this? Because you do work with 115 highly intuitive people that you've vetted yourself, and Dan, you're one of those people. So how much does the psychic aspect of your team contribute to the success of your missions?
Well, it's very critical. And in the Jack Gouleas case, for example, Dan Baldwin and 5 other people were literally within about 100 feet of each other in their information that they had for his exact location. So based on those 5 people, even though we had other people that were maybe, say, a quarter a mile away or a half a mile away, because we had those 5 individuals, Dan included, that were in the general vicinity of where we actually located him, that gives us a little bit of an angle that maybe 5 people coming close to the same area makes sense. So it's the similarities that we try to pass on to the authorities if it's something that's out of town. But then if it's not out of town, we just give them all of the information and say, to try to look within anywhere from 100 to 200 yards of the location that we actually provide. And we always try to explain to them that they really should think about always taking, cadaver dogs or search dogs with them, because, most humans, if they don't have the experience of looking for someone, could literally walk by a dead body and not have any clue that the body's there, just because of all the obstacles. Yeah, well, the brush and all of the obstacles that are in your way. If you don't have the experience and the methodology in place, then literally a lot of people can drive by on their ATVs or horseback or walk by a dead body. But the dog, if it's trained properly, will never do that, ever.
So, Dan,
note that the information we provide is very specific. It's not generic. We use GPS coordinates, for one.
And what methods do you use as a psychic and an intuitive to get this information? Do you have a specific tool that you use or method?
The tool I use mostly is pendulum dowsing. I'm a dowser.
Okay.
Do you use the pendulum most often or the rods?
I use the pendulum most often. I'm experimenting with the rods, but I've had better luck with the pendulum, so that's what I stick with right now.
Mm-hmm.
And your other partners in this, the other team members who are psychic, do they also use pendulums or do they use something else?
We've got a little bit of everything. You name it. Some member of Find Me will have that skill, I'm sure. We have dreamers.
So you're also talking to the spirit of the person, perhaps, using remote viewing, using
dreamers, remote viewers. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You name it, we do it. And then we put all the information together. And like Kelly said, sometimes it clusters into specific areas, and that's where you would search first. So
you're kind of looking at all the information you get back from the participants who are psychic, and then sort of working on averages. Like in this last case you were talking about, there were 5 people who hit exactly the same location individually, and so that was a big hit, right?
Right, and it's not like in the movies or something where you see somebody says, well, there's water nearby and there's a road and there's a hill in the background and I can see a building in the distance. I mean, we give like latitude and longitude.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's very specific. That's
you
great.
can drive or walk or hike or fly directly to the spot.
Mm. So do these psychics train themselves to think in terms of getting the information in latitude and longitude, or is this a skill they already have?
No, they're actually required to do that. Some of them do it very easily, like Dan does it very easily. Mm-hmm. But we want all of them to do that because the police don't want to, as Dan was trying to explain, they don't want to get information that is so generic that they would have to expand their search area by a half to 3/4 and maybe even a mile, because then you would have to expand your search from, say, 200 people to, say, 500 to 700 people just to cover that large of an area.
Right. No, I guess I didn't phrase the question properly. In other words, let's say someone is amazingly psychic and they want to join your group or they want to take a test to join your group. Would they have to first learn how to speak in latitude and longitude or get that information, or how do you work that?
No, all of the members are 98% of them at least are familiar with Google Earth and/or Bing, and both are satellite systems. And the methodology is very simple. They utilize their abilities first to receive the information that will send them to a specific area. When we're looking for someone that is lost, if they went missing in, say, Sacramento, California, the exact location where they were last seen is what is provided to the psychic members. And then I ask them from that location, which they all or most want to know where that was, because that's where they pick up their energy. And once they go to that location, then their abilities kick in and take them either 10 miles away or 20 miles away or 2 feet away. So,
I see. So they're looking at the map while they're doing this.
Well, no, they're actually utilizing their abilities first. They go and look at the area and then try to get their abilities to kick in as to where the person is, dead or alive. And then once they've determined that, based on whatever they're getting through that information process, then they go on to Google Earth at that point and then try to replicate what they're seeing in their mind or what they're hearing.
I see. Okay. Yeah.
And Dan, of course, is specific in how he douses. He's actually doing it with a map, and then the map, through his dowsing mechanism, takes him to a location, and then he goes on Google Earth and duplicates what he's seeing in the map.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, one of the way we work, one of the benefits of the group is the fact that we had a case a few years ago where we had a psychic from Australia who saw the site of the missing person perfectly. I mean, you could have drawn a painting from her description, but the location fit just about any place, in a wooded area in the United States. But another member got a number that happened to be a road, and another member got a certain store that happened to be on that road, and then I doused a specific road through the forest, and there were a bunch of clues that came together, and we finally got down to GPS coordinates, and through all those different clues, we went right exactly to where the guy was.
That's an amazing team. That's awesome.
It is. You guys are amazing. It's great. And I want to mention to our entire listening audience tonight that Find Me is an all-volunteer group, and they don't even take reward money. So please, if you work for a company that donates to nonprofits, this is a great one to bring to your boss or to bring to the division that decides who they're going to donate to, so that these guys can keep going with the wonderful work that they're doing. And so please don't hesitate to look further into Find Me. Look at the Find Me Too website. Bring it to your bosses. Or if you want to personally donate, it would be greatly appreciated so that this work can continue.
Yeah, I really do appreciate you saying that. The only thing I would like to add is that we will take reward money, but just not from family or friends of the family. It has to be from, say, the community that is kicking in or a corporation that is providing money. We haven't done it in the 10 and a half years we've been doing this, but if we were offered reward money, we would accept it, just not from the family. Our protocol and our rule is basically we will not accept any money from the family. And that just has to be that way because we don't ever want this to look like we're doing this for money. And that's why we don't accept money from the families.
That's the first
I
rule.
understand. Well, thanks for clarifying that.
That's a great perspective. It's wonderful. Yeah. Well, now it's time for our first break, and I hope everyone stays tuned through the break because there is a special announcement coming up. So stay with us. We're glad you're here.
Your property tax bill. Have you seen it lately? It's frightening. Your property taxes are going up while your home value is going down. It's time to fight back and win. For the real truth about the property tax system, get attorney Pat Quintilian's book, Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Attorney Quintilian answers all your questions and gives you the facts you need to fight a property tax bill that is spiraling out of control. You'll also read about what happens to property owners who don't check their property records, only to find out too late they're taxed on square footage, fixtures, and even buildings that they don't own. Is this happening to you? Learn your rights. Buy attorney Pat Quintilian's book today. Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Available on Amazon.com.
Thank you for tuning in tonight. I'm Helene Olson, psychic medium and spiritual intuitive, and also co-host of this show, SupernaturalGirlz Radio. And in honor of our new show, I'm offering you an exclusive 20% discount for any reading or energy work that you schedule during the month of April. Please take a look at my website at angelslighthouse.com and click on the Services tab. You can use the convenient online scheduler or send me an email. Be sure to mention your Supernatural Girls 20% discount. Next week, during the breaks, I will be offering my inside tips so that you can feel better in these challenging times. Thank you for being part of the Supernatural Girls family, and I'll see you at angelslighthouse.com. And we're back. Thank you so much for staying tuned to this fascinating show with Dan Baldwin and Kelly Snyder. We're talking about the organization Find Me, who is actually in service to all of humanity by helping those with missing persons bring resolution and closure to all that they're worried about. And I'm fascinated by your group of psychics. And now they're all volunteers as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, everyone in the group. Both for AZ Star and the Find Me group. Every single person is a volunteer, and every single person uses their own money to put forth their time and effort.
It's incredible. Now, if a psychic wanted to be part of your group, how would that process work for them?
Just go to my website, the findme2.com website. Under the category About Us is a join form. Just fill out the join form and send it to me, and I don't turn anyone away just because we're all volunteers. And then anyone can come and go as they please. The only thing I ask is while they're a member of the group and they are working in the group, that they devote 100% of their time to those cases, but they can come and go as they please. So obviously if they went on vacation or were ill or let family matters get in the way, then those, of course, are great excuses, and they just take a week or two off and then just come back whenever they want to come back.
That's remarkable. I have to say that personally, I have only done a little bit of this work by accident because it's really not my cup of tea. I really have a hard time just taking everything that I see or hear as information. And I know that those psychics are remarkably grounded in that information and the idea of helping the families who are so distraught. But I'm wondering, do you get any kind of feedback about people who do the work and then decide that it's too hard for them or, find it kind of overwhelming?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's Dan has actually never had that issue. Only personal things sometimes get in the way. But as far as some of the homicide cases, some of the psychics don't set up the appropriate boundaries and just get overwhelmed with the fact that it is a homicide because they're actually seeing how the person dies.
Well, that's right. That's the hard part. And for me, it's just like the imagery just comes back for weeks. And so I'm wondering if people are finding a way to deal with that or if they're already there and what happens when they get overwhelmed.
The way to do that is to set up the boundaries and actually to learn how to avoid that happening. Because if we're working on 20 or 30 homicides back after back after back, then there's no way to get out of that little tiny nightmare. But I'd say probably 90% of the psychics in the group know how to, pretty much phase that out of the equation
and just keep the information as, no matter what it is, it's positive and that it's helping someone else.
Exactly. You have to almost, treat the whole situation as a doctor would. Doctors see death every single day and deal with people in pain. And this is something similar to that. And keep in mind that you're always trying to help someone just like a doctor would. And there's ways to set up boundaries. And, of course, I don't know how to do all of that. You'd have to meet with a psychic. We have any number of psychics in our group that actually know how to do this and help people. And that's another luxury that all of the new members would have, is they have access to some of the most incredible psychics in the world that would tell them how to, avoid these kind of things. So we have these teachers and trainers within the group that can give all of this information to them for free. So there's really no downside by joining in. We're currently working a serial killer case with 270 bodies. So if that was an issue with some of the psychics, then of course they would have to either pass out or drop out. So, it's just one of those things that we deal with, and you have to look through all the gore and the nightmare and just try to remember that you're helping a family trying to bring closure, and more importantly, trying to find out who the dirtbags are that are doing these things.
And that's really important, especially in the serial killer case that you mentioned, because I know we spoke about that, and it sounds just horrific that these killings have taken place over a period of years. Is that correct?
That's correct. The very first case had the similar from the ones that followed afterwards, as far back as we can go, or at least at this point that we have gone, is in 1994. Was one of the cases out of New York. And since that time, we got involved in this thing about almost 3 years ago. And we started doing it by phase 1, phase 2, because in, say, phase 1, the very first state that we worked on, there was 24 dead college students. And so you couldn't add on another state with an additional 21, because then all of a sudden you're looking at, 40-plus people that are dead. And not each and every one of these are homicides, but what we have found is that quite a few of them are, and they're all being treated, or a majority of them are being treated as accidental drowning, suicide, or undetermined, when the facts of the case, when we start looking at the facts, each and every one of these that we've uncovered that we believe are homicides have all of the same pattern. And then we've taken it quite a few steps further, and actually, through the psychic information, we've actually located quite a few people that we know are suspects. And now it's just getting it into the proper hands of authorities to investigate it.
And this is going on where? All across the country, or the Midwest, or where have you followed these murders?
Right now, I'd say the majority, 26 states, are mostly in the Midwest and on the East Coast. And every single one of these college students are ending up in water. There are a few exceptions, but very few. And the logic behind them ending up in water is very simple. The body going in water is dissipating all of the evidence in the body if there is a drug induced, and we truly believe 100% that there is a drug induced into the body, either GHB or something similar, and we have about 5 different drugs that we've identified. And a lot of these kids are walking out of a bar and or being removed from a bar for what appears to be, a really big intoxication issue. And then when we do the research on it, we find out in one case a kid by the name of Josh Sostak out of New York, Albany to be exact, had 2 beers that night. And in a period of, say, 3 hours or 4 hours that he was in the bar, he had 2 16-ounce Guinness, did not drink anything before, and was taking off his shirt. He was sweating profusely. He was hot, and then started doing the dry heaves outside the bar. Eventually turned and started walking down the street, all within camera view of all of these cameras that we eventually found. Actually, the father found. We're working with the family on that case. And then never to be seen again. And then 4 months later, found in the Hudson River. The body was, the autopsy, and the body was supposedly in the water for 16 days. Well, he was missing for 4 months, so where in the hell was he? In that 4-month period, his body was, the decomposition, 2 weeks old, and so where was he for the 3.5 months that he was missing? And then
also,
there
a lot of these guys who are drowning don't have water in their lungs.
Oh, now that's strange. So then they didn't actually die from drowning, correct?
Well, yeah. I mean, there are several reasons that the medical examiners don't actually take that a step further, but we're trying to get that changed also. But one of the important things that I wanted to mention in the Sostak case is the kid went to out with his friends for a birthday party drinking that night and was wearing a specific type of jeans and a type of underpants, shirt, and a pullover. And the shirt and the pullover were found on his body. The jeans were completely torn all the way up to the crotch area. The underpants were gone. This kid never wore a belt in his whole life, and on his body was a belt. So obviously this is a murder case, and of course he was in the water. The pants are shredded completely away from his whole body except in the groin area and the waist, and not a scratch anywhere on his body. So where in the hell are his pants, and where in the hell are his underpants, and where are the scratches? If he was on the bottom of the Hudson River, then where are all the scratches when all of the jeans that he was wearing are completely gone?
So now you asked all these questions, which are obviously they need to be answered, but one of the most important questions is, where was he prior to being dumped in the Hudson River? Now, is your psychic team giving you some insight about that?
Oh, yeah. We got a ton of information on that case. It was because I was working so closely with the family, I actually took the Sostak case and removed it from the general population of all of the kids missing in the New York area, and that is 35 individuals, incidentally. We took it out and worked on it separately, and I had about maybe 65 responses, and the same name kept coming up over and over and over again. And so, we had this individual, to some degree identified based on the first name, because you have 30, 40 people saying the same first name, then there's got to be some truth to that.
Yes.
So, this family has been, has just gone through a major nightmare of losing their son, and then they've had people, and we now know who they are, people that have come to them and done things, and this will put a chill down your spine, but on the 1-year anniversary after they buried their son, they come home to a tape recording, and guess who was on the tape recording?
Who?
Their son.
Ah.
So someone called their house and left a tape recording of their son on the recorder. And this this case is still not opened as a homicide or undetermined or suspicious death. It's still ruled in the Albany Police Department as a suicide and or undetermined death, and you can't do that. I mean, it's just the facts are way too many to to look at this case as an accidental drowning and or a suicide.
It's so frustrating hearing what you just shared about how the police department has determined that this is what happened. So it basically lets them off the hook. They don't have to investigate any further. Is that correct?
Well, that's the travesty of all of these drownings. I mean, a kid's out drinking. They determine that through their interviews. He's found in the river, lake, pond, or stream. So guess what? He was drunk. He fell in the river. It's a case closed, unless the medical examiner finds something where there's trauma to the body, where a blow on the head or a bullet hole in the lung, then obviously they're just going to write it off as accidental drowning, undetermined, or, possibly suicide. And case closed. Undetermined, usually they leave the case open, but that's usually because of some fact that they found that didn't really jive with the information from the night that they went missing. And it's not only the Sostak case, and that's what's bothering me. They're all ending up in water, and no one is looking at these as potential homicides. I think out of all of the 270 names that I currently have, there's only 4 cases that have been designated as a homicide. One is a kid named Chris Jenkins out of Minnesota, and I think another one, a kid out of either New York or Illinois named Polehill. I think it's out of Illinois. And, I don't have the chart in front of me, but that's off the top of my head. So 4 kids, looking at them as potential homicides when you have 270 bodies. And the jurisdictional nightmare, the New York State Police Department or the New York Police Department can't investigate something in Minnesota unless they find a tie to both of the deaths.
Right.
And that is part of the problem. We're currently working on 26 states, and we just need to get it in the proper hands of a federal authority, and that way, jurisdictionally, there's no issues. They can go anywhere they want.
Right, and that's what's going to have to be done. The bottom line is there's a serial killer or killers on the loose here, and they're wreaking havoc, and they've got nobody really looking at them except you guys. Exactly,
and here's the irony. No one is coming to us, even though we've sent the word out that we have all this information and actually met with some federal agents in New York about 2.5, 3 months ago, and with the U.S. Attorney, and we talked about all of these venues, but no one wants to, in the federal system, step on toes politically and go back and start looking in the files of police departments. Well, if I had the authority, I wouldn't mind stepping on toes, and the families wouldn't mind stepping on toes. And guess what? If you have a serial killer out there, or many of them, which we've identified many of them, then they're going to continue to do this because it's almost the perfect crime.
It is. They've got nobody searching for these people, nobody looking for these killers except you.
Exactly. And there may be, unbeknownst to us, there may be other groups out there that are doing the same thing we are, but I certainly don't know who they are. There's a couple of, former New York police officers that were looking at this, but, all they ended up doing was writing a book. And, a lot of good does, so other than put money in their pocket. But, the whole thing here is the medical examiners are making huge mistakes. They're not taking extractions behind the eye of fluid behind the eye, which would tell them if there was a drug introduced into the body, or taking a lymph node. And a lot of this is dissipated while the body is sitting in water. There's only a couple places that you can remove fluid to identify any kind of a drug that's being induced into the body. So we have to educate the medical examiners. I'm not a doctor, but I do know that they're certainly not performing these tests during the toxicology and the autopsy itself. So
and can the family, if they know about this, can they ask the medical examiner to do this, or are they just so autonomous they can do whatever they want and you just have to take what they give you?
Well, you have to do it when the body's sitting in the morgue or sitting in the medical examiner's office, or you end up exhuming the body, and then chances are the drug won't be there and will dissipate, just literally based on time.
Right.
So there's all of these things. It has to be done immediately during the autopsy, and we're trying to get this information out to the medical examiners. I currently have a medical examiner out of New York that's working with our group on this, and a medical examiner investigator out of New York helping us on this issue. And it's just a never-ending uphill battle just because of all the politics. And, screw the politics. Who gives a shit if you piss off police departments and medical examiners, as long as you're getting to the truth? And, what would they say if their son went missing and they were found in a river, lake, pond, or stream? Would they perform these kind of tests? That's what just absolutely infuriates me, because they're treating these other families as they just really don't give a shit. And that has got to change. And, if I'm the one that has to change it, then so be it.
Well, God bless you for bringing this up. This is a tremendous education for all of us listening to you and Dan this evening. These are things that we wouldn't know. And so now we know. And please, everybody in the audience, you need to pass this information on to anybody who has a missing loved one who is found in water. where they are concerned that it was a suspicious situation, possibly a homicide, and they're not getting anywhere with the police. I mean, you need to ask for these things. And yes, it's unfortunate that we have to be so highly educated in all these other fields, but guess what? We do. We have to learn, like everything that you have to say about this, we have to learn about what to do. And the other thing I wanted to ask you about is, can you please give all of our audience some information on how to stay safe? Because clearly we can't rely on the police and we can't rely on the medical examiner to figure it out after the fact, but how do we stay safe? And this is, again, this serial killer group is mostly after young white men, but certainly women have been a target in the past and still are. What can you tell them to help them stay safe?
Well, the irony to this is there is only one female in the last 15 years that I'm aware of that this similarity happened. And part of that I attribute to the fact that women, when they walk out of a bar, they're not letting one of their friends leave the bar alone. They make sure that person gets home safely. Well, the guys, because guys believe that their buddies are tough and they can take care of themselves, they let these guys walk away from the bar all by themselves, never to be seen again. Well, that's absolute bullshit, just for the simple reason that if this person is your friend, then you need to make sure he gets home safely. If you want to go back to the bar and get drunk later on, fine. Just make sure the person doesn't leave the bar by himself. That's one thing. And then that's college student kids, and that can happen nationwide. I would love to do a PSA, public service announcement, and literally tell all of these guys, hey, because some of these kids that are found dead, and I mean they are tough, really, really badass guys. That's why we know for a fact they're being injected with a drug, and then they can't defend themselves.
Exactly.
And it has nothing to do with being drunk. I have friends of mine that when they got drunk, they were meaner and tougher than you can imagine. It's not that. It's a drug that makes them incapable of defending themselves. And, and we know what these drugs are, so it's just a matter of letting the kids be aware of this. And just women leaving a shopping center, be aware of what your surroundings are. Most of the time you hear these warnings during Christmas and the holidays. Well, you can't worry about that kind of stuff during the holidays. You have to worry about it 24/7. Not to the point of paranoia, but just to the point of being very smart and safe. Look for people in the parking lot that are parked next to your car, a guy standing, smoking a cigarette but not moving. Just walk away and go back into the mall, do whatever you got to do, but don't go to your car alone when no one else is there to see this guy do whatever he wants to do. And then if you're in your car and you see someone following you and you know they're following you, go somewhere that is not close to your home and square the block. Just keep making left-hand turns, and if the car makes every turn that you turn, guess what? That person's following you. They're following you to your house to do whatever is on their mind, to take your belongings and maybe harm you in some fashion. So, just be smart. Squaring the block is a really simple tool.
That's a great idea. Now, let me ask you, so let's say you square the block, you take your 4 left turns, and some idiot is following you. What do you do then?
Go to a public place, and most people have a cell phone, so while you're going to this public place, preferably not a mall, a strip mall maybe, or a 7-Eleven, or some place where there's just tons of people, it can be just about any business, and park where your car is facing forward, try to get the license number, and be on the phone with 911 saying someone is following me. The make of the model and everything that you have for the vehicle, if you can describe it, and then the license number. And, trust me, this will save a lot of grief and aggravation for a lot of people. And there may be people in the audience right now that has had this happen to them. Well, if you know the little tiny things that you can do to protect yourself, it's so simple, and you're literally wasting maybe a minute of your time just to save your life.
Yeah, don't be afraid to ask for help.
Exactly, Dan. Exactly. And also do what good psychics do. Listen to your intuition.
Absolutely.
Because if you have a bad feeling, there's a reason for it.
Well, yeah, and I mean, that is important. Everyone has, not necessarily are they psychic, but everyone has intuition. If it doesn't feel right, chances are it's not.
Well, Dan and Kelly, it actually happened to me that one night 2 men were following me. And I knew it. I saw them in my rearview mirror for miles. And I had no cell phone because it wasn't cell phone era quite yet. And so I drove to the police station.
There you go.
And they just went by. It was amazing. I was so happy. But the thing is that I sat at that police station for a while, and I figured I'd just start beeping my horn really loud. And I think a loud horn sometimes scares people away as well, right?
Well, that, and not to suggest that you get behind them and follow them, but if you can get the license number, then guess what? You can hand that to the police and say, these 2 guys were following me. Now, they're not going to arrest them. What they are going to do is stop them, get their identification, and then check for warrants. Well, guess what? Chances are probably 30% to 50% of these dirtbags will probably have outstanding warrants. And just take the extra effort to try to get the license number. Just don't get in your car and start following them. That's not exactly a smart move. But, if you're in a mall and you think someone's following you, just take them for a tour around the mall in your car and eventually park where you have a lot of people and then see if you can get their parking or their license number and then pull in behind them in the mall and start following them in the mall. You have to keep your safety first, but still, if you can identify who these dirtbags are, then do that.
Well, that's
just
great
don't
advice.
for any means put yourself in jeopardy.
Well, that's excellent.
Fascinating. I've been picking up a lot of static information, and it's kind of static the way it's coming to me, but this whole issue around the disappearance and the eventual location of these young men is extremely frightening. And I'm sure you've already gotten that information, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's the sad part about it is I started working on this almost 3 years ago. A kid out of La Crosse, Wisconsin, is what sort of catapulted it. But I started working on a case about 6 months prior to him, a kid named Craig Meyer, and his brother was a cop, and he called me and asked me if I could see if the psychics thought that he was one of the many La Crosse college students, and this was wrapped up into that same group. And so we started working on the case, and then I did a little research, asked a couple of the members to help me, and lo and behold, we started finding name after name, and then ended up with 11 La Crosse college students ended up in the Mississippi River, all after drinking in a bar. Come on. Coincidence?
No
yeah,
way.
but I'm sure that your psychics are telling you that this is an extremely frightening sort of group of serial killers, that it's just really scary. I can't really look at it anymore, but I'm sure you've already gotten that information.
Well, we have, and the irony to what you're saying is it is very scary, but what do you do, go hide in a corner?
Oh, no, I'm not suggesting anyone hide in a corner. I'm just saying that the concept of what these people are doing are beyond what most people's imaginations will allow themselves.
Well, and I know that. I mean, and, we don't want to even go down the road of the bodies, but the whole point here is it's got to stop. And all I'm asking is, some police department, and I'm not going to stop. I mean, it's crystal clear that someone's going to bring this to the attention of the federal authorities and police, but it's got to be stopped through federal authorities, and the police have to not crawl into their little scary holes and hope that it just goes away. This thing is not going to stop. This year alone, we've already identified 11 bodies, all with similar deaths. How many were homicides? How many were, accidents or undetermined or suicides? That we don't know because we don't have the ability to investigate each and every crime. So, I mean, I got to tell you, it's just very frustrating. You know, when I was an agent, I could get anything I wanted, and now I'm a civilian. I have the same ability, I just don't have the same authority.
Exactly, and that's because you're retired now, correct? That's why?
Right.
And when you're retired, you don't have that.
Yeah, I got 2 private investigators actually 3, 2 extremely active in the group, and we can do certain things under the umbrella of being private investigators, but the end result is getting subpoenas and court orders and kicking doors in with search warrants. We can't do that. We can't go and take someone's computer and sort of connect the dots by their telephone toll information and by their computer information. There's investigative techniques where you can identify certain areas and then connect the dots and all of the people that are doing this. I'm sitting here with literally 22 suspects. I've identified them. I've got photographs of them, and no one has come to me and asked me for it. That's the frustrating part about it. And I can't shove it down the throat of the cops. You know, I can hand it to them, but then, you know, what do they throw it in the round file, or do they, you know, laugh behind my back and say it's all bullshit? You know, it's just very frustrating. So it's got to be a federal agency, and they've got to take this thing serious.
Are they supposed to get back to you after your last meeting with them a few months ago?
Well, actually, I have got some updates, and one of the negative updates was the fact that they are approaching police departments and talking to the detectives, reviewing some of the report mechanisms. Well, the whole thing here is they don't want to step on toes politically. Well, that's just bullshit. You get to the truth, and if these people made a mistake, you don't scold them and bring it to the media's attention. What you do is you say, hey, you guys made a mistake here. You need to clean up your act. And then you move forward in a positive way, constructively, correct all the mistakes, and then try to get the case resolved. It's not, you know, pointing fingers time. It's correct the mistakes time. And that's the part that I can't do other than, you know, going on TV and you know, all of the major networks. And, you know, I can identify all the mistakes. I can identify all the police departments. But what's that going to get me? It's going to get me, you know, all these police departments hating my guts and then closing the door on everything I'm trying to accomplish.
Exactly.
Everyone needs to become professional about this and actually do something about it. I mean, it's just so frustrating when they say, well, there's really nothing there. And they expect you to walk away and say, well, if you don't think there's nothing, then I guess there isn't any. So, you know, that's what we have to deal with.
That is frustrating. I'm getting frustrated listening to this. I mean, these are lives at stake. These are unsolved crimes. Now, I mean, it sounds like you've identified 22 suspects, you said. Do you think that these 22 people are all part of a group? They're all connected?
Well, we've identified 13, and maybe I'm wrong on the exact number, but 13 or 14 that are connected. We know who they are, how they move around the country. We identified an additional 4 recently and actually met one of the serial killers undercover. And, of course, that dirtbag doesn't know who we were, but, you know, we wanted to try to find out what we were going to see when we actually met him. And essentially what it was a fact-finding mission on his part, trying to find out what we knew. And guess what? I provided this information to the police department. I got no reaction at all other than send me everything you have. I'll review it, and I'll get back to you.
Oh,
the guy called me back the same day, asked me a couple of questions, and then I never heard from him again. And I called him out of courtesy, professional courtesy, to see if the person wanted to get involved in the investigation and be there to monitor this undercover meeting. And they never called back. So, I mean, that's just absolutely so unprofessional, and I can't wait to expose that dirtbag.
Well, we want you to expose them all. I mean, this is just a horrible thought. I mean, that this is going on, that it is the level of darkness in this, as Helene mentioned, really off the scale. And Dan, you're one of the integral members here, so have you worked on this case as a psychic?
Yeah, I've worked on all of these cases.
And now,
And
is this? Do you sense that same level of darkness that Helene mentioned that I'm also sensing?
It's extremely dark. It's a very intense area.
Do you also get any motivation for this? Not that there ever is anything that makes sense with these psychopaths, but are you picking up on any motivation for this?
Well, the angle that comes up most consistent to me can only be described as some sort of cult.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying a religious cult,
Right.
but the cultish activity. And but Kelly mentioned we're coming up with names. I'd just like to mention anybody interested in pendulum dowsing, you can not only douse maps, you can douse names, addresses, phone numbers, and things like that also.
Mm-hmm.
So none of these supposed cult members know who you guys are, correct?
Well, it depends on whether they're listening to the show or not.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing here is they may know who we are, and they may know we're looking into these investigations because we're not being, really quiet about it. But they don't know that we know who they are.
I see.
They may have fear that we know. Well, I not only know who they are, I know what their name is. I have a photo of them, and I know where they live.
And we're trying to kick up noise.
Right.
Not so much for us, but for the case and to make people aware of what's going on.
Well, this is something that should be on news, major news outlets. I mean, people need to be alerted. The young people, the young white males, need to be alerted that this is going on. They could be easily targeted and taken out. And I really don't even want to think about what's happening to them for the 3 months or 2 months or whatever that they're being held by these nut jobs.
Well, and here's the thing, too, that, the public needs. We have been asked by numerous television stations across the country to give interviews, and I've gone on camera and done that. Most recently, Channel 7 out of Chicago, they did an absolutely incredible job in a 2-part series, a total of almost 10 minutes worth of news time, which, as you probably know, is almost impossible to get that kind of time.
Oh, God, yes, yes.
And the whole point here is very, very important message that they sent out. But guess what? It ended right there. I got a little bit of residual feedback. Actually, had a couple of members join the group because they saw it and heard about it. But then, they did a 2-part series. The last part of that 2-part series was 3 weeks ago. Anyone can go online and see it. It was Channel 7 out of Chicago. And guess what? Nothing's happening. I didn't get a call from the FBI, didn't get a call from any other federal agency out there saying, hey, what can we do to help you guys? It just seems like, well, I guess it's somebody else's problem, and no one seems to give a shit, and that's what's really irritating to me.
That's
Have
awful.
you sent those interviews out to your congressmen or senators or things like that?
We have, and this Bill Sostak, who's the father of the kid that was killed in Albany, New York, he is one of the most incredible human beings ever because, 5.5 years he's been beating his head against the wall, having the system itself beat him to death, and he's still as strong as he was 6 years ago when this happened. I mean, I know he's suffering inside, but he's got the guts of, Godzilla. And he has done this. He's gone to state and congressional and U.S. senators and most recently in a meeting I had in New York with the families of a lot of these kids, we actually had a U.S. senator's aide come to our meeting. So, yeah, we're trying to get the word out, but no one wants to champion this, and we're trying to change that thought process.
Well, we certainly appreciate your message tonight, and we hope that all the listening audience is paying attention to this very closely. We're going to take a break right now, but we'll be back in just a few moments. Stay tuned for our messages. Thank you for tuning in tonight. I'm Helene Olson, psychic medium and spiritual intuitive, and also co-host of this show, SupernaturalGirlz Radio. And in honor of our new show, I'm offering you an exclusive 20% discount for any reading or energy work that you schedule during the month of April. Please take a look at my website at angelslighthouse.com and click on the Services tab. You can use the convenient online scheduler or send me an email. Be sure to mention your Supernatural Girls 20% discount. Next week, during the breaks, I will be offering my inside tips so that you can feel better in these challenging times. Thank you for being part of the Supernatural Girls family, and I'll see you at angelslighthouse.com.
Your property tax bill. Have you seen it lately? It's frightening. Your property taxes are going up while your home value is going down. It's time to fight back and win. For the real truth about the property tax system, get attorney Pat Quintilian's book, Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Attorney Quintilian answers all your questions and gives you the facts you need to fight a property tax bill that is spiraling out of control. You'll also read about what happens to property owners who don't check their property records, only to find out too late they're taxed on square footage, fixtures, and even buildings that they don't own. Is this happening to you? Learn your rights. Buy attorney Pat Quintilian's book today. Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Available on Amazon.com.
Thank you for staying with us. We're back live again with Dan Baldwin, author of the book Find Me, and Kelly Snyder, leader of the group Find Me. This has been an incredible amount of information that you've given us, both of you. And is this where you're spending a lot of your time now, on these missing or actually these unusual cases that are found in the water?
It's a never-ending thing that we do, and it'll always go on until I can get some kind of resolution. And I'm keeping a spreadsheet with all of the facts on this spreadsheet. And actually, we're having a meeting tomorrow, and I'm going to discuss our updates with that and with the rest of the group. But it's not something you can concentrate on just because we continually receive additional requests of other missing people, and I'm currently sitting on a total of 12 potential investigations that we haven't assigned yet, and just recently sent an assignment out just 3 or 4 days ago, and the group currently has that and are supposed to be reporting that back to me sometime before, I think it's before April 10th. I'm supposed to get the information on that, and it's a kid named Zachary Pittman, who went missing out of Louisiana, and then 2 years later they found his remains, and it looks like he was murdered, so we're trying to find out who was responsible for his death.
Was he murdered shortly after he was missing, or was he alive for most of the time?
Well, the decomposition on the body would have to be there'd have to be some major work done on his body to determine approximately when he died. But based on where he ended up and based on when he left the house, I'm assuming it happened within 24 hours or shortly thereafter. And we believe it's a setup, that he was set up to leave the house and people were waiting. And of course, we're, going to send it to the authorities, let them figure it out, and we'll move on to the next case. But currently, that is the case we're working on, and it looks like he died within probably 3 hours to 24 hours after he left the house.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any happy stories of live people being found recently?
Well, yeah, we Christy Smith, which is the search commander and founder of AZ Star, had a great success story not too long ago, I think about 5 months ago, where she received a call in the middle of the night, I think somewhere around 1:32 in the morning, missing little boy. And the facts as they came out later on is the older brother took off, and the kid asked, hey, can I go with you? And the older kid said no. And so he took off, and then the little boy, and I forget his age, I think he was between 4 and 6 years old. Christy knows the exact age. He took off. The family, of course, didn't know he took off. And so when they found out that he was missing, called the police. And I forget whether the police contacted Christy or the family did. I think it was the police. She went out with her dog, and within 40 minutes found the kid. He was hiding in a shed on someone else's property. So that is the perfect example of what I'm trying to get across to the police. Don't hesitate for 1 second to call us, because even though I don't have a dog and I can't respond, I will respond to the search group and support them. And Dan and I are probably the two most, of all of the members of Find Me, we are at almost all of the searches that AZ Star does.
We
regardless of what
to prove it.
And Dan and I have been doing this literally for 10 years.
That's a great happy ending where he was found alive. I mean, that's just wonderful. But again, the police apparently have to get past their ego and put that aside and start working with you as team members with you, which I know is frustrating that they don't want to do that automatically, especially, Kelly, with your background as a federal agent. You would think that they would instantly have some level of trust for you and that they would know that you're not wasting their time.
Well, yeah, and we try to get the word out. Tempe Police Department, we've worked with them twice. Both times was a successful conclusion. But even when we found Willie Jigba a year ago, they called in the Maricopa County search team, their helicopter, and did what more than likely is part of their protocol on how to handle their missing person investigations. But why not place a phone call to us? We're a proven entity. We've proven it to them time and time again. So here they didn't call us on Jack Kuleas. Everybody searched all over the place for him, gave up, walked away. We were called by the family, went in and found him the next day.
Wow.
So, what's wrong with this picture? We're not saying Tempe Police Department did anything wrong. What I'm saying is keep us in the loop. Keep us, if you have to call Maricopa County because of some political bullshit, go ahead and call them. But call us too. And not that their dogs are not well-trained. It has nothing to do with that. We are just incredibly successful, and we have a lot of extra tools that they don't have, and why not use this? What's the downside?
Well, that's right. There is no downside. I mean, you can end up with catching killers and finding missing people alive rather than dead. And
well, more anything, we don't call the media. It's not like, hey, we want credit for it. We should get credit for it. We found him.
Exactly. That's right.
The media shows up that day. They knew we found him. We didn't say a word about finding him, even though they knew. And we pointed to the PIO officer for Tempe Police Department and never spoke to the press the whole day, even though they knew we found the body. So no one can even say we're glory hounds. It's nothing to do with that. It's bringing the body, to the family and letting them have their, little piece of this closure process. But do we want credit for it in the media? Hell yeah, we want credit for it, but we're not going to go and call them on it. If they come to us, then hell yeah, we'll give them an interview, and we'll tell them.
They should. They should come to you, because then they would get the real story and how these people are being found, and it would encourage other people to contact you. And if the family members would also pressure the police to work with you better than they have been. I mean, it's very frustrating. And just to digress a bit, I do know what you're talking about personally. I mean, here in Massachusetts, we have state agencies, policing state agencies. It doesn't work. And it's the exact same thing happens. Nobody wants to step on any toes. It's all political. And we've seen some pretty heinous things go on, and they get reported, and nobody wants to do anything for the same reason. And it's just the way this whole thing is set up, whether it's police departments or state agencies, it's not working. And so, you know, we have to come out and say, be honest with each other. It's not working. Let's change it. Let's not just do what's accepted. Let's do what works. And that's what I want everybody to think about this. And if you feel like reaching out on behalf of Find Me, please do it. I mean, please ask your police departments to work with Find Me, and ask your senators for some support in this area. But most of all, if you know corporations and individuals who can donate to Find Me, please point them in that direction, because these guys need some financial support to keep doing the wonderful work that they're doing.
Yeah, and like you said, there is no downside. I mean, we're free and we're immediately available, and we're not going to step on anybody's toes. We're just going to do the work.
Exactly. And Dan, could you share for us what is, say, a psychic hit that you got that was really, really accurate that you would like to share in any case that you've worked on?
Well, the one really good example would be the one we discussed a little bit earlier with the psychic I told you about from Australia, who described the place perfectly, but it could fit any place in America.
Right.
But she nailed it. When we found the spot, it was exactly as you described it. But I did some map dowsing, and in fact, Kelly was on the phone at the time they made the discovery. But we were working the telephones. But they got a specific road up on the Mogollon Rim in Arizona, a specific dirt road, a forest road, between I think between X spot and Y spot. That was about a mile long, and I said, you know, if you walk 50 feet off that road and walk up the road, you will come to the body, and that's where they found the location.
Oh my! So that was very specific and very accurate.
No, I mean it was with GPS coordinates. I mean you could drive right to there, get out of the car, take 50 paces, and walk north, and you're going to run into them.
Wow. Wow, that's mind-boggling, and thank God.
And it's not me. I mean, I'm not taking credit for that. That's the way the system works.
Well, no, I mean, obviously you're an integral part of this team. You've been with the team since the beginning, and so you have a lot of insight here, and I'm sure a lot of heartbreak too. In the same way that Kelly's been sharing about the frustration, if you could get these notifications sooner, if you could get the cooperation of the police, of the medical examiners more quickly, then you could stop a lot of the homicides that are occurring, because you could catch the killers. Now, have you been able to solve any homicides where the killers have been caught?
Yeah, Kelly,
unfortunately, a couple of them that are noteworthy and worth talking about are not resolved as far as the court system is concerned. So I can't really discuss the cases, and some of them are still very active, and it would be unprofessional to discuss them while the case is not resolved.
Sure. That's understandable. But it sounds like you were able to identify who the killers were, and that it has progressed into the court system, which is always a good thing. So.
Well, yeah, one of the individuals that I was referring to was actually convicted on one of the murders. And
oh, good. Okay.
2 women. And the second murder, I believe, has not gone to court yet. And we identified him as the killer. We actually identified an area where we thought both bodies were. And they actually found one of the women. She was decapitated, but they found one of them. And then did not find the second one for a period of, I think, 3 years, but then just recently, within the last 6 months, found her. And but the guy's already been convicted on one of the murders, so I don't know exactly what's going to happen on the second murder case. But the name of the lady was Merrimon, Merimon, I believe, and I forget her first name, but that's off the top of my head. And that is the one that has not been resolved in court. But we named who the killer was. And I don't remember how close we were to where the body was found, but it was somewhere in the vicinity of a half a mile. And in the world of the police departments, that's not really close. But, hey, we do what we do, and we do the best we can, and let it all shake out, and hopefully the police can figure it out.
And also what's so important about what you do is you're putting fresh eyes on all of this. I mean, you are bringing a fresh perspective to all of these cases. And so the chances are very high with your great team that you're going to give some really important information, if not find the missing person. So
there was a case last year. We went up and did some investigating, and it was one of those cases where everybody knows who did the murder, but there was not enough evidence to convict the guy, and everybody was waiting for the guy to strike again.
Oh.
And finally, an AZ Star showed up and started investigating, and the suspect left town.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. We did some good there just by showing up. Yeah, you did.
Yeah, there's a case right now that has had tons of high-profile coverage from Dr. Phil and all the media, all the major networks and everything, and it's a small, tiny little sheriff's department working the case, and we identified who we think is responsible, and we gave them search locations and offered our dogs, offered everything we can offer to them, and they are just doing their own thing right now. The sheriff's deputy has been very nice to me and very responsive. He's just not doing all of the things that I've asked him to do, and I've begged him to allow us to do an analysis on one of the suspects' handwriting, because we have an incredible handwriting expert. And that handwriting expert that I mentioned earlier on the case where we met this guy undercover that's a serial killer, identified him as a serial killer just based on his letter.
Wow.
So it's that kind of stuff that we can bring to the table. And does the FBI and other agencies have these kind of people that can do that? Yeah. But why not get a second pair of eyes on the letter and see if there's something additional that we can give them that they didn't get from the FBI person or the other expert in the field? Why not get two experts to do it?
Exactly.
What's the downside?
There isn't any. My God, it's not costing anybody anything, and you're bolstering the case. You're giving them more valuable information that they need to continue to build the case.
And most important, we don't share it with anyone. They get our results, we give it back to them, and they do whatever they want with it. We're not going to go out and talk to the media about it. That's the frustrating part. It's like we're not being trusted, but for 10.5 years, we've never violated that trust with anyone. So where is the downside?
And as we keep answering you, there is no downside. It's unfortunate that things are the way they are, but I'm hoping that with this interview with us on Supernatural Girls and some of the other things you have planned, that the news people will put you on their shows, you'll get on major networks, and people will start to understand that it's important for them to work with you, whether from the family side or the police side. It doesn't matter. They all need to reach out to you in a time of crisis when a loved one goes missing, and they need to do it right away. So
yeah, I mean, I would love to take our suspects that we have in the serial killer case and say, here, ABC, NBC, CBS, here are the people that are killing the college students. Go and do something with it. But I can't, because it would destroy an agency from prosecuting these people if you did something like that.
Sure, you can't expose them that way. But, I do have to tell you, through this whole time we've been speaking about this, it just feels to me like you're dealing with a group of people that also have above-average intelligence. They do not feel to me like the usual rotten scumbags who are of, they're just of a different ilk. These people seem to have more of a mission behind what they're doing that is so nefarious. It just gives me the creeps, everything about this. But this higher level of intelligence is completely disturbing, and they seem to like this cat and mouse game, it appears to me. And I don't know if you've gotten that kind of information from your psychics, and Helene, I don't know if you're picking up on any of that. but that's the way it feels to me.
Well, it's very deep, very dark, and very connected. And the dark part of it is unimaginable is the only word I can think of to describe it. I don't really want to go there and start saying what I got before.
You're not talking about something spontaneous. You're talking about a high level of organization.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Planning, organization, assets.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what I was feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly that, what you just described.
And the will to do it.
Yeah.
But there's a purpose in them doing it. They have great purpose with this.
They do. Yeah.
And there's a reason in their minds. I'm not saying it's a valid reason, but it's a reason in their minds that they're somehow garnering an enormous amount of power from this. And
they're willing to do it in public. Think about it. They're willing to do it in public.
Mm-hmm.
And the irony to your comment is we know why they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you do? So you know that already.
We know exactly what their motive is. We know why they're doing it. And but how do you display that to the police? Well, we have their actual writings. We have so much evidence to prove that it is more than likely these people, because of what they're actually saying on various networks, and without going into exactly what that is, we have their words coming out of their own mouth saying that they're doing these things, and no one seems to be looking at it except us. And that just irritates the crap out of it. I just can't imagine it.
Oh, I can't imagine it either, but yet it's happening. And again, I really hope everybody listening tonight will find a way to support your group in whatever works for them, whether it's offering their own services, some financial support, or bringing this information to their own corporations to get new finance so that you can continue to do this work, and also bring you into the press a little bit more vividly. So I would love to see you guys on Dr. Phil. I'd like to see what he has to say about this. I'd love to see you on any national network, no matter what, talking about this. Again, warning young men and women, but the young men who are under assault by this highly organized group who thinks that they have some delusional mission they have to accomplish. I mean, this is so disturbing. This whole thing is disturbing to me because I really get what you're saying, and I really get that nobody except you is even looking at these people, and so they are free. They're given a pass to do this kind of murder, this kind of torture. I mean, sending a voice message to the parents of a deceased child. I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, that's just so cruel. But that's what they're about.
Yeah, and then
consider this. In my early readings on this specific case, I kept coming up with the fact that there was training going on. I mean, the same pattern kept coming up. There was always an older person and then two younger people. So what's going on now? And now that we've been working on the case for so many years, I can see why now. They're training young people to take over.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like you feel this has had some history even longer than what you guys have been able to determine.
Well, we think it started out simply with a bunch of people, and we've identified at least 4 of those people early on that did it for whatever reason, and I can say what the reason is, but I can't. And then because of the popularity of that particular group and getting all of the media attention, a bunch of others decided they wanted to copycat. And that is what travesty is, because now you have an additional, say, 16 to 18 additional people with the original 4 that were doing this, and they have decided and have the understanding that this is almost the perfect crime. And some of them have taken it upon themselves to fine-tune what these other 4 were doing, and, they just utilize the same mechanism, but just fine-tune it by adding additional members into their group. And, I just wish I could, say who they are and where they are, but, it's just sort of a double-edged sword, I mean, it would expose who they are, but then we have we have to have an investigative agency gathering the evidence to prove that it actually is them, and then arrest them and try them for murder.
Well, I am hoping that they, in their cat and mouse game, will screw up. And I think they will, because they're an arrogant bunch who thinks they're smarter than everybody. So it's just a matter of time before they trip themselves up and fall into their own deep, dark hole. But still, I really hear what you and Dan are saying about the frustration of all of this, and trying to work with state agencies and with the police and the senators and everybody else, and it's trying to wake them out of their reverie to do something about this. And it is comforting in some way to hear that this firefighter is still on this whole case about his own son. And I know it takes a lot of strength and fortitude to do that, and I'm glad that he's still fighting the good fight, because I know how helpful that is to everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, a good example of the kind of person he is, he hosted a meeting today and was at a meeting today with all these families in New York, literally trying to, assist other families and still keep the hope alive that something can be done for these people. So even though he's had his head beaten against the wall time and time again, he continues to go out there and try to do the right thing by helping other people. And then I'm assuming his motivation is eventually resolving his son's case, but still, in the middle of all of this nightmare, he's still helping other people. So, I mean, this guy, if not sent to the sainthood routine, then he needs to get an award somewhere down the road, and I'm going to be standing next to him hopefully sometime when he receives the award for really just hanging in there for all of the nightmare that he's dealing with.
Exactly. And again, it takes such inner strength to keep going in the face of this. Now, has he and his wife, have they received any other types of messages like the last one, the year anniversary message, or has that gone away?
Not that I can discuss, quite frankly, but it's one of those things that there's a bunch of things that did occur, and now because of those occurrences, I have asked him to do certain things to, put in protection mechanisms, and most recently he did some of those things that I asked him to do, and part of it is to, catch whoever is doing some of these things and actually catch them on film, but more importantly, just to ultimately protect his family. He still has children, so he has to worry about that, and but he goes through life day after day just dealing with this garbage and still has to protect his family. So, I mean, this guy definitely somewhere down the road deserves some kind of an award for his due diligence, and then in the middle of all of this with himself and family, he's helping other people.
That's a tremendous, tremendous thing. And he is a local hero, and he should be commended publicly for everything that he's doing. And again, it takes just so much inner strength to do what he's doing. And it does for you guys to do what you're doing, because as Helene mentioned, for the psychic teams, for you, Dan, seeing the bodies in your mind's eye, seeing the way that these people died, seeing what was even happening to them before they died, which I'd imagine is quite horrific. It's not easy to deal with those images, and yet you have a team. Dan, you're one of these team members, and then your other 114 psychics that go through this. They somehow find a way to deal with what they're seeing, and that's not an easy thing. And then, Kelly, for you, with your frustration also with the police departments, oh my goodness. So God bless you both. I mean, you're doing such tremendous work here.
Well, you always have to say at the end of the day, I did the best I could, and let the cards fall where they may. It sometimes is not what I want myself to hear, because I'm, pretty much an in-your-face kind of guy. But the point is, we can only do what we can do. If I had the power, and trust me, believe me, I wish I had the power to be deputized I would be kicking doors in across the country, interviewing these scumbags, and I just need to get someone with my mentality to some degree, barring the torture routine, but nonetheless, get these people out there kicking doors in and kicking the bushes and getting people to be a little nervous. No one out there is nervous. No
Right.
one has a clue. No one has a clue that the cops are looking at them. And you know why? The cops aren't looking at them.
Right, exactly.
That's a travesty.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like open season on young white males, I guess, and it shouldn't be that way. We should have a much better system in place, and we don't. And I'm sorry, but all this screaming and yelling about cuts to this and understaffing, it doesn't answer this.
No, and someone's got to step up to the plate. If not me and Dan and all the people in my group, then the FBI Behavioral Science Unit is the ultimate perfect venue to investigate all of these college deaths. If they find out that 90% were accidents, well, then so be it. But what about the 10% or 40% or 50% that are murders?
Right.
That has to be addressed.
It does.
We can't be talking about it in the media. Talking about it in the media is absolutely, just absolutely a 100% total waste of time if no one does anything about it.
Oh, but if you keep talking about it in the media, that just attracts more attention so that somebody may step up to the plate and do something about it. So we have to figure out a way for you to get on Dr. Phil so that because everybody's watching that,
Anything like 48 hours, Dr. Phil, something that's going to allow you more than 5 minutes to explain your situation. You can't go on TV and get a 10-minute segment and have any impact at all. I mean, you have to be there and able to answer all of the questions and describe what the dilemma is. And if you can't do that, then it's a total waste of time. To go on Good Morning America and be on there for 5 minutes is a total 100% waste of time. You have to be on something like 2020, get 15 minutes to say everything that you need to say, and then let all of the people, the public, the police, the feds, the congressmen, senators, everybody get up in an uproar, and then let the dust go, and then say, okay, you guys want to know how to solve this? And then move on from there. In this meeting that I had with the feds in New York, not one of these people that I met with, and there were a total of 16 people in the room, not one of these people have asked me for the suspect list. Do you find that just a tiny bit weird?
That's unconscionable. Why is that?
Yes. Well, who knows? If I was in the inner circle and I was still an agent, I'd tell you the answer to that. But I'm a civilian. But is something happening? Are they investigating? Probably not. And it's just very frustrating. But, it's not the only agency that can do this case. It's the one that I relied on based on my prior, work in the general vicinity of this agency. And it was the perfect venue at the time. It didn't work, but guess what? I'm not stopping. And if any of the scumbags out there are listening, I'm coming for you assholes. I just need someone to help me that has a little bit of federal backing here, and or some cop out there that has, some personal fortitude to pursue an investigation in his department, one of which is Saratoga, New York. Kid died up there, and it looks like it's going to be swept under the rug. And that's just total bull. The kid's name is Alexander Grant, in case some cop is listening out there. Alexander Grant clearly is a case that should be investigated, but it's going to be swept under the rug, and nothing I can do about it.
And now are they saying this is another undetermined or suicide death?
Well, at this point, I don't even know if they've classified it. I think it's just being one of those things where the detectives are being told, walk away. I mean, who knows what the truth is? I don't know because I'm not involved in the conversation, but that would be my guess because it's happened time and time and time again. Chris Jenkins out of Minnesota was a perfect example of that. The case is now a homicide, but for years was an undetermined and or a accidental drowning. And because the parents went ballistic with all of the evidence they had, they finally did make it into a homicide. Are they investigating it? Are they doing anything about it? Probably not, just because it's such a hot potato. Nobody has the time, effort, money, or the personal fortitude to pursue it. Is it a travesty? Absolutely. Do they deserve to have an answer? Absolutely. Are they going to get an answer? Probably not. Minnesota, whoever's investigating it, I think it's, I can't even remember.
This brings to mind another odd case, and this is unrelated to what you've been investigating, but it did strike me as just so crazy. And this was the case where it was a multimillionaire's home. His son had died falling down the stairs or something a few days before. His girlfriend is found hanging from the balcony. And
yeah, I mean, that was...
Yeah.
Now, there's another great example of just incredible stupidity, or, as you've been just mentioning, are people being told to sweep this under the rug? I mean, to me, it was a no-brainer. The woman was murdered. But
well, in that case, there's a kid named Colin, I can't think of his last name, Colin somebody up in Tupper Lake, New York. Colin Guinness, I think is his last name, Guinness. That's another case where it's such a small community. Guaranteed the cops know something about the case. Is something being done? Well, at this point, no. Do they have an answer as to who did it and what happened? I think they do. Are they doing anything about it? Well, it's been almost 8 months since he went missing. Do they have the body? No. So, there's the captain or sergeant or someone in charge of missing persons in New York. It's a female. No negativity there other than she made a comment not too long ago that if psychics were involved, she would close the case.
Oh, how narrow-minded.
Wow.
Yeah, so
it's not all that uncommon either.
That could be fired. A psychic is no different than an anonymous phone call or a concerned citizen. There's no difference. So this female cop, and I wish I had her name because I'd expose her, said, if psychics are involved, I'm closing the case. I'm not going to have it investigated at all. Can you imagine saying that?
No.
And it was said private, but I would have loved to expose this piece of garbage because she has an obligation to investigate this regardless of where the information comes from. And New York State Police Department in charge of the Tupper Lake area up in upstate New York shouldn't be too hard to figure out who this piece of garbage is. So, have her call me. It's just these kind of people just absolutely infuriate me because they have, no sensibility as to what is available to them. The best thing I ever heard in all of the years I've been doing this was from a New York detective looking for a little girl that was missing out of New York, and he was investigating her missing area being in Florida somewhere. He said to me, Kelly, I will take information from the devil if you can help me find this little girl.
Right.
Now think about that in relation and opposite of this other piece of garbage, New York State Police Department officer. I just wish I had her name because I'd tell you in a second because I know she said it, and, what am I going to do about it? Nothing. Nothing I can do about it.
And it's such an unreasonable thing for her to say, and with such a tiny mind would only say something as stupid as that. I mean, there's been time and time again so many people, like you say, have called in tips or even when psychics have been involved. I mean, they are obligated to investigate these things.
Well, we were on a search a while back. We were walking with two deputies, and I was discussing the case with them. This was a desert search, physical search. And both of the deputies said that we do not believe a bit in this psychic stuff. And I said, well, why are you guys out here with us then? He said, because your information is so accurate, we have to be out here.
Well, at least they were out there. That's the only thing we can give them.
They didn't believe, but they were out there with us.
Yeah, and that was, I mean, you have to tell the listening audience it was Yavapai County Sheriff's Department.
Yes, it was.
So that is a positive thing. Maybe they didn't believe in the psychic phenomena, but nonetheless they were doing their job and following up on all the leads. That, Dan just said, is incredibly important.
It is. They should be commended for that, because they didn't have to personally agree with psychic use
and they did
solving crimes. They didn't have to, but they were doing their job.
Your information is so accurate, compared to what we're coming up with, that we have to be here.
That's right. That's right. And I do have to announce to our audience that has been faithfully listening to our show tonight that Dan has generously donated an autographed copy of Find Me to one of our subscribers. So if you haven't already subscribed to the Supernatural Girls newsletter, please go to SupernaturalGirlz.com and make sure that you are signed up on our newsletter list so that you can.
Kelly's going to sign it too.
And Kelly's going to sign it too. There you go. So please go sign up on SupernaturalGirlz.com, and that's with a Z, SupernaturalGirlz.com.
And could you guys please give your contact information again?
Yeah, the website is www.findme2.com.
Easy.
And, we're on Facebook and we're on Twitter, like all the other people, but don't expect a lot of feedback from us because I'm the Twitter guy. I have about two minutes extra in my life to deal with all that media stuff. So, if you need something, want something, or want to join us and help us, by all means, go to the website.
And Dan, where is your book? Is it also on findme2.com, or is it just at Amazon?
You can get it on Amazon.
Okay.
And go through Find Me.
Mhm. Well, that's wonderful. And I did read the book.
I don't sell it on my website, but you can find out information about it there.
Mhm. What's your website, Dan?
Yeah, www.danbaldwin.biz, B-I-Z.
Oh, great. That's great. I did read the book, and I thought it was very, very interesting. And
we've got another coming out.
Oh, and what will the name of that book be?
Son of Find Me.
Son of Find Me. Wow.
I think that's a joke.
I know.
Yeah. It actually
that's a working title.
It would match our website if we could name it Find Me Too, but I don't think that's what's in the cards. But that's a book that's 100% just Dan and I. And the other book involved 13 authors. This is just Dan and I doing the book alone. Mm-hmm. And but it's going to be an interesting book just because I'm going to have a chapter or two about the serial killers, and hopefully they can read between the lines that we're coming for them, and maybe get one of these federal agencies off their ass to read the book also, unless they want to actually come and visit me and see my evidence.
Well, before
book one's about Find Me, and it's also a how-to book. Each one of the psychics explains their different technique for their particular skill. And book 2 is primarily going to be cases.
Oh, interesting. That should be fascinating. That's
and I just want you guys
perspective.
to know, too, that before the show, I did reach out to a couple of people that I know in law enforcement, and I asked them to listen to the show tonight. So I hope that they've had a chance to listen, and if they haven't, that they'll listen to the archive show and then get in touch with you to see if they can offer you some more support so that you can pull these killers off the street, put them behind bars or on death row where they belong, because it's a threat to everybody, and it needs to stop. And it's unfortunate we have so many holes in our system that allow people like that to terrorize us and to walk free, as if it's a game.
Well, yeah, and I don't want to notify the whole world that this is the perfect crime, but guess what? It really is. The only other mechanism out there is to throw a body into the desert in Arizona, and that's been done for thousands of years, and within 24 hours the body is picked apart. Well, this one is an even better crime because there's no evidence left. The body's in water. The police and the medical examiners are making mistakes when they pull the body from the water. They're not treating the body in water as a crime scene. I mean, it's just a comedy of errors. There's about maybe 10 police departments in the country that treat a body found in water correctly. And that's it. Now think about that. When there are over 50,000 police departments in the States, we have maybe 10 or 20 of them doing it correctly. I mean, that is an absolute travesty.
It's appalling.
Well, it is, and we appreciate so much the service that you provide, and we are honored that you came on our show to talk about this subject again, because it's so important to get the safety information out and to garner attention to everything that you're doing and this huge case that you've rolled up all into a whole mound of evidence, and we'll say a prayer for you that the media and the federal agencies will get involved and we'll be able to get this resolved quickly at this point, because it's gone on for way too long. We have to say goodnight now, and thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for everything you're doing.
And my final comment is this case is not going away, so don't think for 1 second we're giving up.
I know you won't.
Thank you.
Yes, I know.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Well, good night to our listening audience. We're honored that you stayed with us for the evening, and we're happy that you'll be returning next week.
And we have surprise guests next week. Oh, wait till you hear all about it. Well, you have to sign up for the newsletter to see. So, anyways, thank you all so much. Many blessings to you, and have a wonderful rest of your weekend.
Good night, Patricia.
Good night, Helene.
Thanks for listening. Tune in next week for another radio adventure with